what's good, and welcome back to Starting on the Bench. It's a place where normal people can talk about the sports they love. It has been a weird week, let me tell you something, that's for sure. It's been a lot of back and forth, new information coming out for sports. Some of the sports are finally coming back. I know that if you have been reading up on baseball, what's happening, baseball apparently is trying to figure out how many games they're going to be having, who's going to be playing, and when they're going to have their World Series. Oh, God, it's so tiring. It's so tiring to think about it. It's so tiring to have these back and forth conversations. And I mean, obviously, a lot has happened in the fighting scene. I know Conor has retired a couple of weeks ago, but then it sounds like he's going to be coming back in a different way. Not with MMA, but maybe like he'll do one boxing match or something like that. Of course, whenever he fought Floyd Mayweather, he got so much money that there's no reason for him to ever fight ever again. There's enough money for him, his wife, or his partner, and his kids. So, and I think they're having second kids, which is kind of crazy. So the fighting world is stacked. There's either hearsay and she-say going on between the future heavyweight championships and champions and who's going to be fighting who. I know I'm a huge fan of the heavyweight champion because it's a lot interesting, and obviously the lightweight or featherweight champion because Lomachenko, he's also from Ukraine. He is planning on a few fights, but he's getting better. I myself am trying to get better. I know this is kind of like something I've been reconnecting, or like I'm finally understanding different athletes right now, is that I've been trying to do this 100-mile challenge by Garmin, but unfortunately I wasn't able to run, and so it's just been a lot of running half a marathon, and then sitting for a couple of days, just elevating my foot and getting the rest that it needs, and then running another half marathon, and then all of a sudden it's just your leg turns like green and then purple, then blue, and then some other, I don't know, colors. And so it's so hard to focus on like getting well and performing. And so I'm finally getting this mindset of players setting out, during the coronavirus, and then setting out during this, NBA famous comeback, the Disney World bubble. I think that's what it's called. They're calling it Disneyland. I always mix which one is where. So the one in Florida, I think Disney World. Anyway, they're planning on making sure to come back in the old fashioned and making sure that everybody has the right chance, the right choice, and just making it healthy to come back. And during this corona situation, every single athlete has been staying healthy, eating right. Some of them were partying, and as well as like Ezekiel Elliott got tested, and then he was tested positive for corona because he went partying and all of that. And which, by the way, some of the college football players, they got tested for corona and it was positive. So we might be struggling to have the sports back as soon as we wanted to. Of course, NBA is going to be back at the end of July, if they're still doing the 16 teams plus, starting on July 30th or July 31st. I can't remember, either way. And then we have football coming back in September, but with coaches and coaches being back on their solid ground in their facilities, the players are not being able to be there, and then they're restricted to being at home or specifically training. I know that I've been following Baker Mayfield because I am one of those people who believe that Baker Mayfield is able to have the season he deserves, the season he deserved last year with all the powerful players and key individuals in his team. So hopefully he's going to be on his grind during the summer. I mean, of course, other players, trades happening right now, and some of the people are not happy, like with the New York Jets. I know Jamal Adams is planning on going somewhere else, and I feel like he's going to go to the Cowboys. Quote me on that for sure. I know Lamar Jackson is the cover of Madden, which we talked about earlier. It's exciting. It's exciting times for him. On Instagram, I'll be posting different ideas and thoughts of how I think different teams on NFL should improve. But it's kind of tough to give, I guess, my opinion, because I don't know when they're going to be coming back. So the more time they have right now, the more they will improve, especially Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill. There you go. He is one of those people that I follow, not because he's a part of NBA, but because his athleticism and the way he takes care of himself is something that I admire. I'm a person who thrives on knowing what is good for your body and what is not, which I apologize, because I started with saying that I, I run a lot. I do run a lot. I think I clocked in about 16 miles this month, and I still have a week to go, so I'll probably will do just a couple more miles just to get to that 100 kilometers, you know? However, I am terrible at, my mental state is I like to push myself. However, However, my body cannot keep up, and so I need to figure out how to make sure my body knows what it's doing, and I realize when I need to push my body, when I should not push my body. This is something that I learned actually by watching the Cavaliers. I know it's a weird shift, but I've been watching Kevin Love work out, take care of his body, what exactly, like his nutrition and what he eats. And so that's something that I really started paying attention. Then obviously LeBron James, he had this whole I wouldn't say documentary series, but just like 5-6 videos of how he stretches before he works out, what he eats. And then he talked about like the driving situation, that sometimes he drives, sometimes he bikes, and especially right now, him being in LA, there's a lot more opportunities to be, with hills and all that, to be on bicycles. So that's something that I'm going to be investing in the next couple of weeks, is since I can't run and I can't work on my legs, because I did try to work out my calves, and oh Jesus, I have inflammation of my tendon. So anything that I do, I know, right? It's an issue with your tendon on your foot, where the muscle gets too worked up, and it doesn't, the blood flow doesn't get through well, and then you don't stretch that well, and so it kind of bottles up, builds up, and then all of a sudden you have an issue where only time heals. So you need to take the time to make sure that heals up, you're all well, and then learn how to stretch properly the muscles. So that's something I'm like, I wish I was much smarter. So I've been trying to research, and this is so weird, and I know that some people might be opposing and saying that, soccer sucks in the United States, and soccer is, football, the way they say, but we'll continue saying soccer, right? So soccer has been such a dominant arena, a platform for players to either speak up or be able to share their opinions, or follow. Like for us fans, we enjoy following soccer and different teams. I know that Atletico Madrid is my team right now, and they've been doing their best. Honestly, they're doing their best, and they've been on their toes, literally and figuratively, because they've been training nonstop. It's been crazy because Bundesliga is up. I know La Liga is going to be soon opening on up, and so they're going to be participating in it. So I hope, I think they're open now. I think they are, depending on, depending on who's going to be playing, and I just want everything to be back to normal, because I can't keep up with who's playing and what time they're going to be playing, because again, shifting of timing, and then summer's coming up, and then it's going to be so painful to watch games that you really want to watch, but they're not going to be up until like midnight because the sun is beaming on the players so much, so they have to make sure that they're being accounted for, and making sure that it's an accommodation that they're able to provide for the players. Soccer and basketball, because I'm sure if you haven't heard that the basketball NBA is going to be having games, but it's going to be later in the evening. So just making sure that you're staying, hydrating and all of that, and they're going to be able to move some of the games later on. And so it's painful to keep up, because sometimes you're like, well, I'm going to stay up, and then you want to watch it, or you're starting to watch it, and then they're like, I'm sorry, it's not going to be happening until tomorrow, something like that, because again, like coronavirus, there's a little bit of hesitation to get it. So I get it, I understand, I don't want to sound judgmental or like, selfish, but sometimes like it's complicated to keep up. So, But then I started following, and this might sound crazy, but I started following MLS, and I've never realized how cool the tournament is, or it used to be before, because I have some of my friends who actually follow it, and they're huge fans of the Seattle team, Seattle Sounders, and apparently I think they won last year. They won the championship last year. However, I thought like I want to pick a team so I can follow and understand, and I started following literally every single team on Instagram just to keep up and like understand of what's happening and how they are, proceeding into the training section, into the I can't remember what they call it, but the first phase. There you go. Let's call it that, because I'm not really sure how they do. There are 3 phases of the first one, like finally coming back. Second one is moderate follow-up of like, here's a corona, and then make sure that you're staying healthy, but some things are not obligated, like masks and all of that. And then all of a sudden, third one is like, we're still making sure that we're able to play and the Rona stuff, but you didn't have to be so pretentious about wearing masks and hygienes. Well, which, by the way, you always have to make sure you wash your hands, but they're trying to figure out how to make it in phase 3 as to get there as quickly as possible. And so my favorite team obviously is Inter Miami, because it has been opened and organized by David Beckham, by yours truly, I guess. He's a guy that I feel like the team will succeed because the managers are trying their best to facilitate every single need. I know that some of the basketball players are trying to bring attention to the MLS, and I know that what's his name? The Snake. My friend always calls him the Snake. Kevin Durant. I don't know if he's a snake, but I've heard people, my friends who have been Thunder's fan for a long time, they're like, yeah, he's a snake. So anyway, he put some money in the MLS team, and so everybody's like, oh my gosh, maybe we should invest money in it. So I feel like there's going to be a wave right now of players investing in the MLS. I know that some NBA players, athletes, they have invested in Liverpool and other European teams, but I don't remember who's been investing in American teams. And so I know that LA Galaxy has been like on, like if you ask an American if you ask an American if they know a football team, like a soccer team in America, everybody's going to be like, well, obviously LA Galaxy, because it has transcended into that level of, I guess I can't even find a perfect way to say it, but it's going to be like a Kardashian level. There you go. That's the closest I can get. It's like, so mainstream. There you go. It's such a mainstream team that everybody, you might not follow it, but like LA Galaxy, go for it. But if you're actually a soccer fan in the States, you know every single team, you know your players, and you go to the games, and it's not that expensive. Yet again, it's so much fun to watch. And I know that I live in Ukraine right now, and so I've been trying to figure out how I can come back to watching soccer again, but unfortunately, you're not able to because of the Rona. But I started looking to MLS, and it's so much fun. Not just because of the teams that they play, but they produce the health and fitness model to the rest of the, to the people who follow them. And this is something that I found out, is that you can actually follow the teams, and you can learn from it. You can learn how they, I wouldn't say behave, but like you learn from, like, they actually promote health and wellness, the fitness. You can follow on Instagram, and all of them are actually like, some of them are Europeans, but some of them are United States. And I've never, like, they impact their community so well that you would go into like Chicago Fire football club, right? And then all of a sudden, like, there's a tight group of community, basically, group of people who actually know the teams, the players, and then all of a sudden, like, people who are close to them understand, like, hey, I'm a soccer player, therefore, like, the cardio is the most important part, and then lifting, and then all of a sudden, those individuals are rounding up, and they're trying to figure out, like, oh man, this is awesome, like, maybe I should follow MLS. And so it's not, the team is like, the sport isn't mainstream, but it gets a lot of attention. So whenever they had the so to speak, the World Cup, right, their championship, their finals, And whenever the Seattle won, I remember like Macklemore was there, and like all of a sudden I'm like, he knows about soccer. Like it was so weird seeing them, and then all of a sudden I had the same epiphany as the same feeling whenever Kevin Durant invested in Philadelphia Union, which by the way, it's so funny. They have like a little their emblem. It has a snake on it. So it was just such a weird thing where it's like watching him invest in a team that has a snake. And then you have devoted teams as FC Dallas, where my friend actually follows that team, and his kids are in the minor league of FC Dallas, where they have like the main team, and then have U18, U17, like U16 and all of that. And his kid is like U9 or something like that, minor league. So, and they're actually really good. They have a smaller goals, smaller fields, but oh my gosh, it's so fun to watch the teams. And then obviously you have soccer high school teams, and then they compete, and then they are being able to participate with the teams that are closest to them. So if it's obviously if it's in Florida and close to Miami, then they're able to participate and be friends with the Inter Miami team. Which honestly, my goal in life, I guess one of my bucket list ideas, is that I want to visit one of the major arenas in the United States. I feel like I want to do it in Ukraine first, just to see how it is, because it's much cheaper to travel and get to the teams. But it's not as fun because the teams aren't competing that much anymore. However, in the United States, the MLS is actually a very competitive sport. You might not hear because it's not mainstream, because you obviously have NFL, then NBA, then you got hockey, then you got MMA right now, and then golf, and then blah blah blah, and then MLS. And it's so sad that people are not paying attention, because obviously, first of all, it's not that fun to watch, because the score can be a 1-1, 1-0, 2-1, 2-0, something like that. And then obviously NBA, the action's happening every single time. That's why I think one of the reasons why NBA is becoming more and more fun to watch is because there's so much action going on every at any time, every single second, every single minute. And then NFL is because the sport has been around, and they've been advertising for so long that it becomes a part of your culture, Like you going out and getting a drink, or, tailgating or something like that. It's always like, oh, that's when you do when there's a football game. NBA isn't, I've never heard of a tailgating for NBA, but maybe I'm wrong. I would be curious to see how things are. And then all of a sudden MLS is just a sport where everybody's like, oh, it's just so boring. It's not, but it's like, the way I draw the parallel is NBA, you're a fan of not just a team, but you're a fan of a player, and then that player can go from one team to another, and then all of a sudden you're a Houston fan, then you're a Thunder fan, there you're a LA fan, and all of a sudden you're just jumping from one place to another. But then you have this, not just a platform, but this unity between MLS, and then you have AFL. And I don't know if you're a Australian Football League fan, but that is a camaraderie that you can find in between. Your grandpa is a fan of that team, therefore your dad is a fan of the team. And then your dad is a fan of, and you're a fan of the team because your dad is a fan of that team. And so this generational just camaraderie, again, is such mind-blowing, because I don't remember, like, if you're a Patriots fan, if you've been born in Boston, you're a Patriots fan. You're not a fan of anybody else's team. And that team sucked for so long until Tom Brady came around, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's actually, like, everybody's a Patriots fan, right? But then Tom Brady left for Tampa Bay, and then all of a sudden everybody's like, well, maybe I'm not a Patriots fan. But for Boston, it's like, well, Tom Brady left. Good for him. We wish him nothing but the best. But I'm still a Patriots fan, so I'm excited to see what Bill Belichick is going to do. With MLS, it's the same thing. If you're a fan of that, if you're a Philadelphia fan, you're not going to go in to Chicago and be like, oh, I'm a Chicago fan now. I'm a person who lives outside of the U.S., so I choose a team because, you know what, this is the team that I'm going to be cheering for, and I know that half of my family lives in Florida, and the other one is in Philadelphia, so it's going to be a tough one to go back and forth. So I feel like this is something that I wish that you would enjoy MLS as much as I do, or as much as I will, and I hope that you're going to be keeping up with the sport as much as I will. If you're not, I'm so happy to be talking about it during the podcast. I know that there's a lot going on all of a sudden, because before in March and April and in May, sports have been trying to come back, and there wasn't a lot to talk about. However, right now there's such a spike of interest of what's happening in on the streets and on the court and on the field, and I'm excited to talk more about it, to expand this podcast time-wise, and to have more conversations about health and wellness and sports and different teams, and my opinion, of course, and how things can be improved, and what are my opinion of how things are right now, because right now it's very challenging for me to have a filtered mind, because again, it's just sometimes there are things that are so stupid that it makes me cringe, it makes me angry. However, I know that things need to take their time and space in order for them to get better. For MLS, I know this is a time for them to shine in the next couple of years as they progress and become more and more, I wouldn't say mainstream, but more popular. I know NFL, they're trying to figure out certain contracts. I know my team is they're trying to get there. And if you're following us on Instagram, we'll be talking more and more about the teams and my prediction of who's going to be there. MLB is it poops right now. I don't know what's the clean version to say it, but it sucks. I'm trying to get into baseball, and I know my best friend, he's actually trying to push me into educating me into learning about that. However, I'm so frustrated with the teams, not necessarily with the league. That's what I was before, and that's when I heard about the Astros and them, I guess, cheating and all of that. However, and then that's where I started listening more and more to baseball podcasts. But then I realized that MLB, that the managers and then the owners of the teams, okay, well we're ready to play. What's the schedule? How many teams? What's the playoff? What's the World Series? When it's gonna be? And then MLB, the league. What? I'm just so frustrated because they are not really sure how things are gonna be come back, and then all of a sudden they're like, you know what? Let's not come back. Let's take a year off. And some people are actually mad. I was reading up on ESPN and SportsCenter and all that. Oh my God, people are so pissed. However, it is what it is. Sometimes you have to go through it. It's annoying. It's frustrating. It grinds my gear, if you say so. But it's just annoying. So I hope it's going to be better. I hope it's going to be something that MLB will learn and people will follow them more often. So my boys, Tampa Bay Lightning, are finally getting back to getting into the facility, practicing. There's still so many things to find out, figure out, make it, legal purposes and hygiene and all of that. So the NFL is finally being able to do the same thing that hockey are trying to do, is get the players into facilities, start training, start having, they obviously had meetings on Zoom. I know that Formula One, they finally have their drivers in the seats and they've been trying to run the circuits, trying to learn the car, adjust certain things. So I'm excited for next week. I'm excited to talk about just sports being back and how these teams and players have worked out to a point where they're able to compete, because it feels like some of them have been putting in the work and others have been partying. Ezekiel Elliott. Some of them have been doing their best to work on it, and some of them haven't been trying their best. And it frustrates me because this is their job. It is my job to do my job. It is their job to do their job. And so I hope that everybody's staying safe and healthy, and I hope that every single player understands the value that they bring to people, not just to the organization, but to every single fan that they have focused, dialed in on that sport. And I hope they realize that we are 100% behind them no matter what happens. Basketball, baseball, hockey, football, soccer, golf. I'm so excited to watch golf again. I've 2 hours in, I'm glued to the screen, I'm watching golf, but I'm excited for things to slowly be back to normal, however, cautiously. And so I hope that you're staying healthy. I hope that you're staying safe, and make sure that you drink lots of water. All right. Thanks for tuning in. That's been it. I see you in the next one. All right. Peace.